What is the most inoffensive thing you've seen someone get offended by? One time someone got offended when I put on my seatbelt. Thought I was commenting on her ability to drive. Maybe 22 years ago. I had a phone interview with a baking company. I didn't care to have my peers know what I was up to, so I took the call on my cell phone in my car. The call was crystal clear and no technical issues. At one point, they had mentioned the weather and asked how it was where I was. I told him that I was sitting in my car and I could see that it was actively snowing and whatnot. The interviewer asked me, "Are you taking this call on a cell phone?" I told him I was. Then he asked me if I thought that was appropriate. I asked him what he meant by that. He said he thought it was kind of rude to take a formal call on a cell phone. I told him I would be more than happy to conclude the interview if talking on a cell phone was an issue. If he was interested, I'd be happy to continue it the next day when I'd be at a desk. He again repeated how rude he thought it was that I had called from a cell phone and that there was no need to continue the interview process. I disagreed with the first point but did agree with the second. To this day, I wonder what the hell he was talking about and where he was coming from. I got in trouble in kindergarten for saying the word dead. Apparently it was too violent. When I was a child, my mum paid for something with a check. The cashier remarked that my mum had nice handwriting. My mum flew off the handle. And we had to storm out of the shop in outrage. To this day, I have no idea what happened. Had someone get offended by me calling my brother bro. They insisted that I was racist and that white people can't be related to Mexicans. Like seriously, lady. That's not how genetics work. We are 100% related and are a mix of white and Native American. It's not that unheard of for one biological sibling to come out lighter or darker than the other. And even if we weren't related. Seriously? I'm racist for calling someone close to me my bro despite being different skin tones? Seriously? Thank you for coming to my rant session. Have a good day. At my wedding we marked the vegetarian items as vegetarian. This made the one vegetarian at my wedding, sister-in-law who hates me, fly into a catatonic rage because we are singling out the vegetarian food as vegetarian and not treating it as normal food. Then how the fuck are they supposed to know it's vegetarian? A sandwich. I kid you not. My ex-husband was given a sandwich by our then 13-years-old daughter, and because she cut the sandwich he went off on a massive strop about how his sandwiches should never be cut, etc. The poor kid's face. She was crushed. It still winds me up no end every time I think about it. The guy who got offended in a council meeting because someone used the term black hole. Edit. Found a video. I once listened to my boss try to lecture the fire marshal because he was talking about something being flame retardant. Her reasoning was you should just call it fireproof because retardant was an awful word. Closing parenthesis. It was one of those times where I really should have tried to stop her, but instead I just stood off to the side, probably making a surprised Pikachu face. I was at the vet with my cat and he sneezed. This was apparently very offensive to an elder woman. She was there with a corgi, and she started screaming at me for about 30 minutes about pet hygiene. There was a post on Reddit a while back. Maybe Aida? A guy was dating a girl who lost her shit because he said flame retardant, and apparently retardant was a terribly offensive word. I think about that post a lot. Maybe someone can link it. I told my sister in a PM that it's first, not one RST, after she posted something on Facebook with the spelling error. She flipped out saying how I'm a bully, and I need to appreciate that her spelling is more unique. Edit. She's 27. I am a disabled person. My life sucks because of my disability, and no longer being able to do the things I used to love makes me quite depressed sometimes. Some asshole tried to lecture me about how I was ableist for wishing there was a cure for my disability. Fuck me for not enjoying being in constant pain and possibly ending up in a wheelchair in the future, I guess. I worked at a restaurant and we put up some Halloween decorations. We had to take them all down when someone found the glittery skull decoration offensive. The Canadian flag. Told me that if they put up a Canadian flag in PA, the neighbors would come and shoot everybody. Not quite sure about the logic on that one. This guy at a Halloween party I was at was dressed in a giant bacon costume. Some girl was yelling at him for being so offensive toward Jews and Muslims. She was neither Jewish nor Muslim. One of the Muslim guys at the party asked her what the fuck she was talking about, but she didn't back down. Lol. I have no idea why people feel they need to go out of their way to be, inaccurately, offended on behalf of other cultures, religions. When I worked in customer service. Yes ma'am. ... Don't you ma'am me. Don't you fucking ma'am me, you piece of shit. I sang the song Hit the Road Jack to a kid I just beat in a game while in the 3rd grade mockingly. He took that as me calling him a jackass. He told the recess monitor this. I was told to stand against a wall away from the rest of the kids with the recess monitor. I am now 27 now. Married with 2 kids, but I will never forget this. If you ever see this, I didn't call you a jackass, Jared. But now, fuck you forever. Edit. Thank you all, and I am sorry to hear a lot of you had Jareds too. First comment of mine to get really any response, much less gold or awards. This. Greater than Professor Greg Patton at the University of Southern California, USC, was telling students in a communications lecture last month about filler. Or pause words. Such as, air, or, you know, in English. Greater than footage of his lecture, which has now gone viral, shows Professor Patton saying, in China, the common pause word is, that. So in China, it might be na ge. Na ge. Na ge. Greater than enunciated. Na ge sounds like the N-word, which led several of the professor's students to complain to the university. Responding to the complaint, the dean of the university, Jeffrey Garrett, told students that Professor Patton would no longer be teaching the course. Greater than it is simply unacceptable for the faculty to use words in class that can marginalize, hurt and harm the psychological safety of our students. He said. Greater than the university says that Professor Patton volunteered to step away from his role amid the investigation into complaints made against him. This is the stupidest thing to get offended over that I've seen in quite a while. And damaging to actual cases of racist terminology being used inappropriately. The Pixar short Lava. He walked out saying it was deeply offensive and didn't explain why. My parents are abusive and have called my sisters and I every name in the book. Pretty sure, cunt was said to me more than my name. In a fight. My sister called my dad a fool when he was throwing a hissy fit. He flipped his shit and couldn't fathom being called something more offensive. He called me and told me what she said. And I laughed at him. Now my sister and I laugh all the time about how crazy our parents are. I had a coworker who got mad at me because I asked her not to tickle me. A. That's inappropriate at work. B. We're not children. We're not in a relationship. We're not family. C. I don't like being tickled. She flipped out and said everyone likes being tickled and I was being mean to her. Happily my boss had my back. Edit. This happened over a decade ago. I don't work with that woman or for that company. In fact, even the company doesn't exist anymore. I am also a woman. The coworker was very young and immature. This was her first job. Her first time in a professional environment. And she really had no clue about professional workplace behavior. I wasn't upset because she truly thought she was being friendly. But I still don't like being tickled. People get very offended that I don't like being touched. It's specific to France. In French we have a way to address for a man, monsieur. A married woman, madame. An unmarried woman, mademoiselle, and we used to have one for an unmarried man, Mondamoiseau, which disappeared from official paperwork since I don't even know when. In the name of gender equality. Mademoiselle was also removed a few years ago from official paperwork. Also in the name of gender equality some employee were told to not call young women mademoiselle anymore and to go with madam. So the trick is, some women will get offended when called madam because it makes them feel old and some women will get offended when called mademoiselle because it's sexist. Clerks are doomed. And #X200B. Edit. Apparently it's not specific to the French language. Using a walking stick. I was in a car accident a few years ago and it fucked my leg up. Since then I've been using a walking stick. I was walking to shop, pre-pandemic, and an old bloke gave me the dirtiest look I've ever seen. What do you need a cane for? You're only a kid. He actually got quite pissy just seeing me using a stick. Like, my dude. I'm just out trying to buy some milk. I don't need your shit today. I didn't say that out loud. I just said it to myself after I got home. A fucking picture of an eye. We have an organization-wide theme every year and all the PCs on our network have the same background and theme which can't be changed. So this year's theme is Vision as 2020, and the background was a zoomed-in picture of an eye in really awesome colors. 2 women on staff wrote letters to complain that the picture was heathen as it drew from Illuminati imagery and paid tribute to the all-seeing eye of Egyptian deities. They whined and complained to such an extent that the picture was eventually changed to shut them up and let the normal folks get back to our actual work. Got chewed out once for saying, "Yes ma'am," to a lady. "I'm in the South. That's what we do." I called someone "fam," and she blew up at me, saying that I clearly meant the N-word. IIRC run by Norwegians had to take down their Norwegian flag because morons kept shouting abuse at them after mistaking it for the Confederate flag. Alternatively, morons getting pissed off at people writing Xmas because it takes the Christ out of Christmas, even though X, Greek letter chi, is a symbol dating back 2,000 years that means Christ. I managed a small, new team that had no procedures or policies. So I set about instituting some. I mean, you never know. I could get hit by a bus tomorrow and then no one would know how to process these requests. I told them, when asking for their feedback and for them to write up how they did their tasks. Then we would come back together and decide best practices in a meeting. Little man filed a complaint to the manager for my use of violent imagery and said that he felt threatened. It was a whole thing. Ultimately, he got fired. Fuck him. Bye. Edit. Well, this blew up. Lol. For clarity, he didn't get fired for this one incident. He was a horrible employee with real issues having a woman in charge. My dad loves to tell the story of how, shortly after they were married, he and mom went to get some fast food. As they pulled up to the drive-through window, my very conservative mom saw a sign that said condiments available upon request and said OMG. That's disgusting. Why would a restaurant feel the need to give those out? She had misread it and thought they were giving out condoms upon request. Ex of mine once flew into a shrieking rage because while he was driving, someone swerved or did something surprising. And I gasped out loud. Apparently that meant I didn't trust him and our entire relationship was in question. The amount of rage for the level of infraction was upsetting. ETA for those suggesting I was overreacting and the annoying one. He was a terrible, aggressive driver. And we lived in Boston. EDIT too. I'm reminded of the time he reversed the car out of a spot by turning the wheel sharping and gunning the engine, smashing the entire side of the car into the concrete pillar next to the parking spot. That was my fault too. For not warning him he was going to hit the pillar. I gasped that time too. Despite being warned that gasping was a sign of distrust in the relationship. Slow creep of shitty behavior until the frogs boiled to death, not realizing how hot it was. Fortunately, I woke up before I boiled to death. One of my coworkers was surprised and said, "Oh my God." A religious coworker overheard her using God's name in vain and reported it to HR. They had to have meetings with HR and the managers about respecting people's religion. The lady said, "Oh my God, she didn't wish for the death of Christianity for fuck's sake." It was ridiculous. This happened just last week. I work at a bank in an affluent part of Atlanta, red, old white money. And a woman called in to let us know she was offended by the security questions for her online banking. The security questions she, herself, set up. Back when I was in grade school, a teacher of mine was discussing something, I don't exactly remember the context. And he said God or a god in order to be neutral to those with various religious beliefs, and probably to cover his ass since he was commenting about religion while in school. And a girl in my class got so upset, offended about it she started bawling about how he is being disrespectful to her beliefs. Wearing a mask in public. One Easter Sunday, a lady in church was wearing a hat that had the Easter bunny, chicks, and colored eggs as part of its design. The woman in the pew behind her took umbrage, telling the lady that Easter was about the resurrection of Jesus from the dead, not about silly rabbits, chicks, and eggs. My mom got mad because, and I quote, "She never asks me for money," referring to me. I'm sorry. Would you rather I constantly bug you for cash so I can buy candy and shit? Sporks. I once heard someone say, the spork is the devil's utensil, because it is the amalgamation of the masculine fork and the feminine spoon and is trying to blur gender lines in society. Straight male here. Married with 3 children. I have a gay brother-in-law and a gay niece. I have attended gay pride rallies. I have 2 gay pride shirts. I have been called out several times for being a poser, a straight man wearing a gay pride shirt. Almost got in several fights, so I stopped wearing them. We used an app at work called Bonfire. One person refused to use it because bonfires are for witchcraft and pagans. I still remember in kindergarten when my friend and I were reading all the colors out loud on one of those Crayola super packs. I got straight up yelled at and sent to the principal's office for saying orange pizzazz because the teacher said I called someone a piss ass and would not listen despite having the crayon as evidence. After a 30-minute scolding and waiting for my mom to leave work to pick me up for my suspension. She came in all apologetic. When I explained to her the whole situation. Not the school side. Ma went apeshit. I'd heard her say shit once. That's the only swear I ever heard from her. And we had just been rear-ended in traffic. How about cunt? Can he say cunt? 'Cause you're all being cunts right now. This is fucking ridiculous. And just went off while I'm sitting there all shocked face. And the principal is just red AF. I got unsuspended on the spot. But she pulled me out of school for the day anyway. We had a lovely day and she explained very well how I shouldn't swear like that unless absolutely necessary, and I've exhausted all civility. When being civil simply isn't working. Sometimes you might have to call someone a piss ass. The next day at school, I learned that I now had the stigma of being the kid who got the Crayola super pack taken away, sad face. Typing in someone's phone number to activate their rewards card. Finished typing it in. Found her name. Proceeded with the transaction and said, "You're good to go." The woman replied with, "What is that supposed to mean?" And she gave me a fiery glare as if I just kicked her toddler across the store. "It means, I found your information. You'll get your points." The woman, "Oh, okay then." I still can't figure out why she flipped out like that. It was a rewards card. She got her points and she got her discount. What? I commented on a Reddit thread once and said that the weird serial killer, mass murderer fangirls who send nasty messages to the parents of school shooting victims were assholes, which is a pretty non-controversial statement. Or so I thought. Some rondo appeared in my comments bitching about how everyone was entitled to their freedom of speech. LMFAO. Had to take a Reddit break after that one. I spent 9 hours deep cleaning the house for an inspection. I went above and beyond. Clearing my work schedule and going the extra mile. And my roommate double-checked my work. He had a complete psychotic meltdown because I forgot to sweep underneath the couch. I moved out the next day and never spoke to him again. Happy holidays successfully triggered an entire demographic. I'm still amazed by it. Someone once got offended because I used the word black in conversation. I was talking about an article of clothing, the color black. They tried to make into something about race. And that I shouldn't use the term black anymore. And should say African American. I said that makes no sense, I'm literally talking about the color black. Am I supposed to say I'm wearing an African American colored shirt? Maybe I'm crazy, but I think that's actually offensive, lol. In school I referred to someone while talking and pointed at them and was told off for pointing a finger. Out of character for the teacher. She must have had a bad day or something. Someone posted a video about 9/11 and someone commented, "Please take this down. You're not from New York. You will never understand this pain." She said this as if only people from New York were in the World Trade Center. We were choosing a mascot for a summer camp where I worked. It was the first day of camp and we'd always let the campers vote on a mascot that we'd use for the rest of the summer as sort of a bonding thing. This year, the kids voted for wolves as the mascot. It was almost unanimous. But one kid, probably about 9 or 10, threw a fit because wolves are bad guys and predators and killers, and he doesn't want to be a wolf. He wants to be a hero. He refused to participate in any team activities because he didn't want to be on a team with the bad guys. At one point, we brought in a guy in a full mascot wolf costume for some anti-bullying program and the kid had a massive tantrum. I almost felt like we were going to learn at some point that his brother was killed by wolves or some other tragic origin story. I did feel bad for the boy because I was fairly certain he had some kind of unaddressed emotional difficulties or something. But we weren't going to change the mascot name that almost everyone voted for. The really sad thing is that wolf populations have suffered a lot due to stereotypes that they're bad. The kid that got the cops called on him and suspended from school for having a Nerf gun in his room during a Zoom class. An AIDS walk happening in front of our restaurant. My boss said, well, they better not come in here spreading their disease. I was like, dude, that's really not how AIDS or their walk work. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.